Mom, break!
Hold on. Mom?
Stop!
Baby, are you okay?
Yeah, Mommy, I'm okay.
Be fine.
We should sacrifice her.
Well, that's gonna do.
The movie opens with Jill, a former US Army medic and recovering addict, now working as a college security guard. She sneaks into a lab to steal some expired drugs and sells them to a man named Greg. Although she's unhappy with the payment, Jill heads to her mother-in-law Doris's house to pick up her children, Matilda and Noah, who are no longer in her custody. As they get ready to depart, Noah hesitates, but Doris urges him to come along. Doris instructs Jill to return the children later that day. During the drive, Jill inquires about school. Matilda responds enthusiastically, while Noah remains uninterested. Suddenly, Jill loses control of the car, narrowly avoiding a crash.
Baby, are you okay?
Then the collision causes a serious accident that plunges them into a nearby lake. Jill and Noah manage to escape while the sheriff rescues Matilda. Once they reach the shore, Matilda regains consciousness, and the sheriff informs Jill that her daughter has briefly lost consciousness. He notes that the city has experienced a power outage, with several cars also affected. Advising Jill to visit the hospital for a head wound, the sheriff directs them there. Upon their hospital arrival, they encounter numerous injured individuals. Jill attempts to have Matilda examined, but the young girl insists she's okay, leading to no immediate medical attention. While Jill is attempting to fix her cut herself, she hears a woman calling for help. Jill follows the woman into a room where she sees two people who have been in a long-term coma waking up. Shocked, Jill takes her kids back to Doris's house. When they arrive, Doris suggests Jill spend the night instead of returning to her apartment. During dinner, Jill asks if Doris has enough medication at home, and Doris confirms she does. However, when Doris asks Jill if she has any money for food, Jill explains that all her money is in the car. She promises to try to get some when she goes to work the next day. That night, Jill struggles to sleep and ends up in the living room, looking at pictures of her kids and her late husband, who was in the military. Doris soon joins her, complaining about her difficulty sleeping. Doris asks if Jill has any drugs to help, but Jill says she has stopped dealing with drugs and suggests meditation instead, though Doris says it doesn't help her. Later, Jill checks on Matilda, who is sleeping soundly, but finds Noah still awake. She asks why he's not sleeping, and he says he can't. A while later, Jill leaves the house very early to start her morning shift. While on her way, Jill encounters Greg, who urgently requires more drugs. Despite Jill's efforts to pacify him, Greg is so desperate that he offers to pay double the usual price. Subsequently, Jill proceeds to her workplace, only to find it deserted. Undeterred, she ventures into the lab to retrieve some expired medications. During her visit, Dr. Murphy, a military doctor from the college, arrives with soldiers to collect items from her office in the lab. Caught by a soldier, Jill clarifies her role as an ex-soldier, now working as a security guard at the college. Murphy recognizes Jill, but is disappointed by her actions. Jill apologizes, explaining the situation. Jill's background reveals her discharge from the army due to drug addiction, with Murphy aiding her in securing a job at the college. Curious about the recent events, Jill inquires, learning that a research hub is being established due to widespread insomnia following a recent power outage. Surprised, Jill refuses Murphy's assistance. As Murphy departs, she provides the hub's address to Brian, instructing him to bring her family there. As Murphy leaves, Brian advises Jill that she should have gone with the doctor. He warns that the world will soon descend into chaos if people remain sleep-deprived. Jill finds it hard to believe that everyone is awake, but Brian insists it's true. He mentions a woman who can still sleep, which is why Murphy is setting up a hub to study her. Jill is skeptical because she saw Matilda sleeping. Realizing her mistake, she regrets mentioning it as Brian suggests that Matilda should be examined too. Jill tries to backtrack, but Brian explains that anyone still unconscious is dead. Panicked, Jill rushes home to check on Matilda, only to find Noah, who tells her that Doris took Matilda to the church.
Church. Grandma took her to church.
At the church, a pastor is preaching when a woman next to Doris informs him that Matilda isn't sleeping. The pastor approaches Matilda, urging her to sleep as the congregation desperately seeks a miracle. Matilda explains she needs to be tired first, prompting the pastor to suggest praying for her. Meanwhile, Jill tells Noah they need to get to the church immediately. Before they leave, Brian arrives and asks if Matilda is okay. Jill insists her daughter is fine and claims she also couldn't sleep. However, Noah reveals that he woke Matilda up, confirming she can sleep. Realizing the danger, Jill decides to find her daughter, despite Brian's suggestion to take her to Murphy. Brian follows them as they navigate the city.
Please, I can't help you!
They learn that the sheriff has been killed, and Jill explains to Noah that people are suffering severe symptoms of sleep deprivation. They hurry to the church, only to find everyone preparing to pray for Matilda. Jill insists on taking her daughter, but the pastor argues that Matilda could help solve their problem. Another woman points out that Jill has no legal right to take Matilda, since the children are under Doris's care. Brian then urges everyone to remain calm. Brian suggests taking Matilda to a hub, but the pastor disagrees, fearing she will be used as a test subject. When Brian threatens to report the church to the army, he is killed by Deputy Sheriff Jim, who sides with the pastor. Everyone flees, and Jill tells Noah to meet her in the forest while she rescues Matilda. Jim threatens to kill the pastor if Matilda isn't handed over. Amidst the chaos, Jill finds Matilda and prepares to leave. Noah, in shock, finds a paper with the hub's address in Brian's pocket. After meeting Jill and Matilda, Noah suggests taking Matilda to the hub for a cure, but Jill initially disagrees. He argues that if everyone dies, Matilda will be alone, convincing Jill to find a car. Jill goes to Greg's garage where she finds men trying to steal a car after shooting Greg. She hides as they kill Greg and steal a car. After they leave, Jill finds a car and returns to her kids. On their way to the hub, Matilda falls asleep, shocking Noah and Jill. They come across an accident scene and discover the men from Greg's place have been killed in a gun battle. Jill takes a sheriff's badge and a gun before returning to the car. Before leaving, Jill tells Noah that Murphy's soldiers likely killed the men. She explains that Murphy, an army psychiatrist, used extreme methods like sleep deprivation to torture and kill people. Despite this, Noah insists on going to the hub. On their way, they stop at a library to get a book on mapping. Jill takes Matilda inside and tells her that if everyone dies, she needs to learn survival skills from the books. Jill tries to teach Matilda how to shoot a gun, but Matilda struggles and runs back to the car. Using a map, they locate the hub but encounter escaped inmates. One of them, Dodge, steals Jill's car with Matilda inside. Jill and Noah try to stop him, but he drives off. Jill scares off the inmates with her last bullet, and Dodge returns, telling them to get in the car. Matilda reassures them it's safe. Dodge takes the car keys after stopping for gas. While Jill teaches Matilda how to pump gas, Dodge changes clothes and asks Noah why Jill is so tense. Noah explains that Jill is preparing Matilda to survive if they don't find a cure. Dodge decides to join them, and they head north together. Jill starts teaching Matilda to drive, but Matilda finds it difficult. Jill insists she needs to learn from books, but Dodge disagrees, saying books are just other people's ideas and should be burned. Jill tells Dodge to let Matilda focus. As they continue, they encounter savages who try to attack them. Jill takes control of the car, and despite the men breaking the window, she manages to drive away safely. Soon, they approach the hub. Jill leaves the car with her kids and tells Dodge to continue his journey. When Dodge asks if they don't want him to come along, Jill says he can leave because she doesn't want him to know her plans. After Dodge departs, Jill tells her kids she will check the hub first to ensure it's safe for them. Before leaving, she tells Matilda that if she doesn't return, there's enough food in a nearby house to last for a while. Jill then sneaks past the soldiers guarding the hub and enters, disguising herself as a doctor by stealing a lab coat. Jill asks where the only woman who can sleep is being examined. When she finds the woman, the security guard questions her, and Jill claims she needs to take blood samples. Jill tells the woman to take care of Matilda after everyone dies and that she's there to rescue her. The woman, thinking Jill is joking, explains she doesn't know why she can sleep and was supposed to have died months ago. Murphy then sees Jill, who lies that she came to help. After getting the address from Brian, Murphy asks about Brian and Jill's family, and Jill says she hasn't heard from him. Jill inquires if Murphy is making progress, but Murphy says it seems everyone will die. She welcomes Jill to the team and tells her to prepare for the next experiment. After their conversation, Jill goes outside and starts crying, realizing she might lose her kids. At that moment, she witnesses Dodge driving towards the hub with Matilda and Noah. The guards at the gate intercept them, and as they disembark, Matilda shares her ability to induce sleep. Subsequently, she is escorted to meet with Murphy and another physician named Katz, who explains that Matilda can aid in helping people sleep by initially comparing her brain activity with that of an animal. Following her induced slumber, Murphy visits Jill to express her disappointment about Jill concealing her daughter. Jill expresses her reluctance to endanger her daughter, yet Murphy emphasizes that everyone's survival relies on Matilda's capabilities, attributing the sleep deprivation to a possible solar flare, disrupting their internal clocks. Afterward, Murphy continues her experiments on Matilda, who witnesses the death of another test subject before their vitals can be compared. Despite unsuccessful attempts to revive the subject with a defibrillator, Murphy proposes comparing Noah with Matilda instead. Meanwhile, Jill experiences hallucinations of Noah seeking retribution for her perceived neglect. Jill's reverie is interrupted when Murphy arrives with soldiers to take Noah away. Despite Jill's pleas, they disregard her. Elsewhere, a soldier begins perceiving threats, leading to a violent outburst where soldiers turn against each other. One soldier targets Jill, but misses before taking their own life. In the ensuing chaos, Jill frantically searches for Matilda. Upon reaching the lab, she witnesses Katz arguing with Murphy about the ethical implications of sacrificing Matilda for their benefit. Despite Katz's objections, Murphy insists on continuing their work on Matilda, prompting Katz to take drastic action and eliminate Murphy. Meanwhile, a soldier is on the verge of harming Noah when Dodge intervenes, clarifying that the perceived threats are illusions and not real attacks. Despite this clarification, the soldier fatally injures Dodge, while Noah manages to escape. Matilda and Jill embark on a search for Noah. Eventually, Matilda spots Noah playing with a live wire. Before she can warn him, he is electrocuted. In a rush, Matilda grabs a defibrillator to help revive Noah with Jill's assistance. However, when they use it, they are shocked by its intensity. The next morning, Jill is wide-eyed as she holds the still unconscious Noah, while Matilda also wakes up to find him in the same state. Unexpectedly, Noah wakes up, claiming it was just a dream. Without time to think, Jill struggles to stay awake as her children stay close. Suddenly, a US Coast Guard officer arrives armed. Jill defends her children, pleading with him not to harm them, leading him to lower his weapon. Subsequently, they opt to depart from the area. While leaving, Matilda notices the sheriff's badge that Jill had been holding onto. At that moment, she spots the defibrillator and rushes out to find Noah. Matilda informs him that the solution to their sleep deprivation issue appears to involve inducing short-term cardiac arrest. She reveals that Noah was deceased the prior night, and it was the defibrillator that revived him. Matilda also recounts how she had been brought back to life by the sheriff after drowning in the lake. Moved by this revelation, the children decide to test their theory on Jill to determine if she can survive the ordeal. They proceed to take her to a lake where she is pushed underwater to drown. Shortly after, Jill is pulled out, and through repeated chest compressions, Matilda and Noah manage to revive her, hearing the reassuring sound of her breathing once again. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch our next videos on the screen, and don't forget for more amazing recaps. See you on the next one.